Hello, my name is Ken Colgan with the TheBIMguys, and today we're going to cover how to open up and utilize Navisworks Freedom. Now, I'm going to go over here to the Start button, and if you download Navisworks Freedom, it is free from Autodesk, you'll see an icon as you move down, Autodesk Freedom 2018. Now, I already have it loaded, so I'm going to just fire it up, and this is what it's going to look like straight out the box. Now, I've done nothing special here except sized it so we can record the screen. Now, when you open up a Navisworks file, the file you'll be opening up is an NWD file. You can download that from the Autodesk A360 site, and that's where we've been putting all of our files. So if you need to download it, you can. I'm going to jump to it right now. This is our A360 drive. You probably were sent an invitation to join in, and you can see in here we have lots of different folders. If you're looking for the meetings, models, and minutes, it's going to be in O2 here. We'll fire this up, and as you go in, you'll see there's this NWD file. To download it, you can, as you hover over, you notice you get these little icons where you can share it, or you can actually hit this little download button. You also have some other options here. Depending on your accessibility, you'll even have the ability to make these changes or not, but you should have the download capability. So if you don't have this little drop down here with the delete and rename feature in here, it's probably just restricted your accessibility. So it's a good thing, so we don't accidentally delete or move or mess up a file. But you should be able to download it without a problem. Now once it's downloaded, you put it on your hard drive somewhere, and then you can open it up using Navisworks Freedom. Now, Navisworks Freedom is a smaller, scaled down version of Navisworks Manage, which is the full-blown version that does lots of comparative items, etc. You'll see this menu here is a lot shorter. If I was to go to Navisworks, which I don't have open, this list is about twice as long. Freedom lets you review, but it doesn't let you do comparisons and clash detections, etc. So the clash detections are done by myself, and also they're discussed during the meetings, and we update the model as needed. Then we publish the Navisworks Freedom file for everybody to review during the week. So it's a free application. Again, anyone can access it and look around and see what was happening at the meeting. So let's go ahead and open it up now. I'm going to drop this down. I'm going to hit open. And when you fire out here, you'll see these are the files that I've downloaded over the different times. As I come down here, you'll see one that says today's date or yesterday's date. And it says a CM. That stands for our collaboration meeting. You go ahead and fire that up and you hit open. It may take a moment for it to load the file up, but you can see if your computer's has any amount of speed, these files open fast. That's one of the advantages of Navisworks, is that the files get converted to a smaller, lighter format, and you can see how quickly we can open these things up. So let's take a look at the interface a little bit. On the left-hand side here, you'll see you have this OMC ESMOI, and it's got today's date. This is pretty much the main file, and within that file, if you want to think of it this way, these are XREFs. Now, when we are doing the actual collaboration, these are true XREFs. What we do at the end is we compile them, and if you're from an AutoCAD world, we bind them. That's the term we could use. We bind them all into one file with all the notes. So it's a marker in history. It also gives the ability for everybody to go in and look at the files without having to go ahead and attempt to repath all the files, etc. So when you get it, you get one file that actually has all the other ones bound inside of it. All these files, you can see we have about 8 or 10 of them that we're calling in. So for instance, if you want to see ceilings, see how it's grayed out? You'll click on this file, and then if you right click on it, you'll see it says hide or unhide. You have the ability to do a few things here to adjust it, etc. Now if I hit unhide, what will happen is you'll see that blue that just showed up, that's actually the ceilings. We just turned them on. So we have the ability here to quickly hide and unhide files. And if you want to think of these as XREFs, if you're an AutoCAD person, we're actually having the ability to hide or unhide these different files here. If you're a a Revit person, these are links. Now, over on the right here, you have what are called, say, viewports or viewpoints. As we're working through the meeting, we discuss these different clashes and we note them. Now I'm going to make this a little larger, and I will go over the syntax that we're using. First, we've broken the building down into different sections. We have an A, and we've broken that into an A1, A2, and then we have a B and a C, kind of following the contract documents. The next set of letters is going to determine what's clashing. So we have a D and a T. That stands for duct and a tray. It's 14th clash, and you'll see it says clashes, and in the meeting we discussed that Brent is going to review it. So what we do is, as we find these clashes, we discuss them, and then we decide how we're going to move forward with them. Now if I click on this, you'll notice that you can see we have some issues here. They're noted in purple. I use purple and red depending on the different backgrounds and how how it looks as far as a contrast. So we have the purple circles here. Now, just like if you were in AutoCAD, just like if you were in Revit, there's a lot going on here, and it's hard to see what's actually happening. Since this clash is a clash between duct and tray, you may come over here and say, well, I probably don't need the plumbing right now. So you could just quickly go hide, and then quickly go hide. So you'll notice that the systems are slowly disappearing. Now plumbing, you may not see it that much, but it is actually disappearing. At this point, since it is clashes between ducts and trays, I'm going to leave the electrical on. I'll leave the duct on, but I'm going to take the structure, and I'm actually going to go ahead and hide that now. And you'll see, let's try that again, structure, hide, and then click off of it. Now, if it doesn't disappear, don't panic. We actually have 3 structural models in here right now, and actually partially 4. Continue down. This is the same model, but I've separated them into the new steel and old steel, and some adjustments we're doing. So within the design team, this is the original structure that came directly from the design team. This one, we've started to break it up a bit. So this one says structure, no new steel, because what we've done is we've got a steel from the steel fabricator, and that is this model. So let me zoom out a little bit, and you can kind of see the difference between the two. So if I'm working and I decide, oh, by the way, see the grid? Show grid, don't show the grid. Okay, that's where the little button is right there. I want to put emphasis on the steel. You'll notice over on the right hand side, see I don't see any of the steel in this area. You'll notice that this one here is actually grayed out. So if I was to right click on it and say unhide it, you'll see how that steel comes alive. So originally all the steel is in one model, and that's this one. Okay, lots of steel everywhere. So we decided, let's take this guy and we'll hide him for most of the time, and we'll be running these 2 steels. We have the structure, no new steel, and we have the new steel. So we've kind of got this little switch here. So I'm going to go hide on this guy and also go hide on this guy. Now I'm starting to reduce the model down, and you'll now also notice that there's some other steel in here. Like, hey, what's this stuff? This is steel that had to be adjusted or moved, and instead of me adjusting the actual fabricator's model, we're waiting for his stuff to come back. I created a small model that contains a lot of the existing information and changes that need to be made. So this is a model that we can manipulate to kind of see the changes on the fly. So again, I will go ahead and hide this one also. So it's kind of reduced it down, and now you'll see over here as we move back, it's a little cleaner. Let's try that again. Boom. Now as I look at this, you can start to see as I now scroll in that what we have is we have a clearance area and a tray kind of crossing each other. So we're discussing that in the meeting on how to take care of that situation. So now as we walk through here, since I'm doing duct and tray issues, what's happening is it's cleaner. It's easier for us to review. And I can zoom in. You'll also notice it says the name. We've also broken that out. As you see in these little groupings, we have one that's actually called room names only. It's a very simple file, but it just gives us a way to locate where we are quickly and efficiently. With the grids, if I hit show grid, you can see the grids are showing up, and Navisworks will show you them around the edges. But sometimes the grid is nice, but really I just want to know where are we? Where are we in the building? And someone who's not familiar with the grid can look and say, oh, that's a corridor. So that's what that does here. I'm going to turn the grids back off. So this is how we have it set up as we go through the clash detection. We note them, and as I move through here, you'll see you get the little graphics. So as we're rolling through, we can see we're having some issues again. A lot of these are being discussed at the present time, and how we're going to take care of these. Now as we move through, we've got a couple of things I've noted again. Right now, these are some minor things we're working out. Now we do have some major ones that are coming up, and I'm going to jump to those now. Let's go ahead and turn on some more things. I'm going to turn this back on. Okay, that's existing duct where it is. Also, existing steel. Now I'm going to spin this thing around so you can see where we are. And one little trick we've been using is this is the kind of the main entrance over here with the big circle. If I was to turn on the architecture model, you can see kind of where we are as far entering the building. So that's kind of a graphical reference of where we are. I'll go ahead and turn it back off. Now, as we start to look at the model, we're starting to have some issues with the OR. There's just a lot of things going on in here, and we're trying to fit a lot of things into space, and it's getting tight. So I'm going to turn on a few things. This is the structure, new steel. Okay, and you can see in here we have these pink ones. Those are the ones we placed in or adjusted because we field verified some of this stuff, and what was in the model was not correct. So the pink that you see is the stuff that's been either verified using the laser scan or being verified by measuring in the field. Now I'm going to spin this thing around, and what we're starting to run into is some major issues here. Is the beams that are being placed in and the ceiling height and the equipment just don't seem to accommodate the space. You'll see some little bubbles around here. That was put in by the duck guys just to show you what's happening. So as we zoom in, you can see that we do have an issue between here and here. Now, as I go through, you can see we've noted them. It's about an 8-inch clash here. Now, how do we know that? Here's a couple of things you can use with this model. As we go up top, as we go to hit this little review tab, you'll see there's a measure button in here. Now, you can use this too, whether you're in Freedom or you're in the full version yourself. But you click on the measure, and you say point to point. Now, when it moves out here, you see this little flat piece of cardboard, if you want to think of that. It shows you what surface you're on. So see, I'm on the top of this duct here, so I'll pick it there. And just for ease, instead of me spinning all the way around, I'm going to pick the top of that flange. And it is going to tell you the distance in the X, Y, and Z. Now at this point, we're getting a distance in millimeters, and you may be getting that also. So we may have to make a change. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. But we got about a 0.2 meters, which is about 8 inches. So let's so you can see there's an issue there. On this note, being that when you open up Navisworks, again, this is out of the box, you're going to have to change the units. So let's take a look at that now. Under the Navisworks tab, if you drop this down, you'll see there's a thing called Options. Go ahead and click on Options, and it's going to open you up to this little dialog. As you drop these down, you'll see there's lots of different little doohickeys you can start to move around through. So we're going to kind of roll through here. And as you pop through, lots of little variations you can play with. But what we're looking for is units, display units here. It says meters. They go, maybe not. How about we go, and you can see in here lots of them, feet, inches, fractions. That'll work. Decimal places. Now, some of the times it gets a little crazy here, right? You say, well, angular degrees, 3 decimal places, okay. And precision, you might say 1/8 of an inch will take care of what I need. So we've just made that adjustment. Now you'll see it says it's about 7 5/8 that we're crashing there. Now to spin things around in Revit, if you want to move things around, you roll the mouse in, roll the mouse out, and I'll give you 2 or 3 tips on moving around. I'm rolling the scroll button in and out right now. The trick with Revit is whatever you're over. Now I'm going to hit escape. Now you can get out of different ways, but there's a little icon right here. It says select. You hit select, and now you move into selection mode. If you pick something or surface, so like I picked that. Now as I roll my mouse in and out, you'll notice that becomes the center of rotation and the center of the zoom. If you want to pan around, you can see you have the pan button here. You also have an orbit button. If you're a button person, hit orbit, and then when you hit the orbit button, you click, and notice how we're pivoting around that particular item. Now I'm showing you the buttons here, and this is another one. You can use the pan command, a little hand. You click it, and you move it left and right. The other way is just use the middle mouse button. That's that little scroll button. Zoom in, zoom out, squish it down. And that's a fancy word, squish it down. Just press it down, move left to right. Now here comes the interesting one. When you want to spin around, hold the control key down plus the middle mouse button. Now, actually, I'm sorry, it's the shift plus middle mouse button. Shift middle mouse button will spin it around the object that you're clicking on. Now when I click here, you see how it pivots around that point. So as you start to move around and pivot, Revit pivots things around. Now the easiest way is find the item that you want to working on. See, I have my little selection tool. If I pick, let's say, this beam, now that beam becomes the center of my world, and as I spin around, notice how it becomes the center of the world. We can go under it, around it as needed. But now as we move around, you can see we're starting to have that issue here. As we move over, you'll see that actually it's kind of hard to see here. You can turn things off. If you want to see what something is, if something's behind something else, you can grab an element, with using that selection. That's what we're going to keep using. Hit select. You right click and you'll see it says hide again. So you can hide the whole document, you can hide all the same documents, or you can hide the single item. Now you'll notice when I picked on an item, it told you what it is. It says that's a W24, 21 by 44. That's what that is. Now the actual depth of it is correct, maybe not the size, 44, but we place this in to get our clearances correct. Now if I hit hide, you'll notice that that guy disappears. And you're like, well, how do I bring him back? If we come over here, you'll notice as I move through this this area, notice that this guy is still grayed out. So you right click on him, unhide him, and he's back again. So what I like to do is I turn it off, I look around, and I just turn it right back on before I forget, because you start buzzing around and you're thinking to yourself, oh geez, I gotta go find that piece. But we do know it's a W. We can probably chances find it pretty quick. So I'm going to again hit hide, and now you'll notice we also have this guy here, which we need to talk about. Is two things. Number one is that the steel, the new steel, is actually not as deep, assuming we line up the tops. It's not deep enough to span across the bottom, so these may have to come down a little bit to align it. So in reality, you'll notice that the depth here is actually further in. So let's take a look at it again. We'll go back to measure. I'm again click on the top, come on down. I'm gonna click right on that piece right there, 8 5/8. That is how far it's crashing in. Now if we wanted to really pick nits, we could come in here, pick the top. Alright, now I can go shift and I spin this thing around, right? Whoa! And I can actually pick the underside of that. Pow. Now that's telling me exactly what it is. It's 8 7/8. And it'll keep running until I go pick something else. So I'm going to almost have a 9-inch crash here, which looks like that's going to be one of our issues as far as big items. We have some small things like I showed you a moment ago. I mean, just slide a unit over or something. Some of these are very simple. So this is one of the major issues that we'll be discussing probably in our next meeting with the design team. So that is how you kind of get around Revit. I'm going to run, Navisworks. I'm going to run through a couple more little tidbits here just so you know how to, if you want to make a note in this, and maybe send it back. This file, if I drop this down, I go here and I hit, notice we were able to open these things up, move around, print preview, print it. So if you want to print something out, send it to you, go right ahead. Now, I'm a big fan of a little tool. It's called Snippet. I'm going to click here and type in SNIP. You see Snipping Tool. Whoop, I don't know how it came up. Let's try that again. All right, Snipping Tool. Hit Snipping Tool. What this does, it lets you, let me pull it down a little bit, just hit New, pick a point, pick another point, and then at this point, if I want to put a note, I can scribble something on it, and then I can email it to a friend. So this is a quick way to note things as we move through. So if you are looking through here and you want to send something to somebody quick, this is probably one of the more efficient ways to do it. Let's go ahead and, sorry about that, close it. No. So you could actually take a note over here, take a picture and just kind of hit a red line. This is the one I'm looking at and this is what we want to do. So that is how we can get around Navisworks. I'm going to close these up, and as you see here, here's the models. We can spin around, find out where we are, and if you want to verify something, remember, pick on something first using the selection button. Once you pick on it, at this point you can spin around. Nice and easy. Now if you want to fly around the model and do fun stuff, there's lots of tools in here that you can use. I'll talk about this full navigation wheel. I don't use it that often, but if you wanted to fly around and get a feel what's happening, you can just fire up this little guy here. Let's go ahead and fire him up. And you'll see it says, got some fun things. You got look. Well, it'll actually let you look around. Just imagine your head on your shoulders looking around. So I'm staying stationary and I look up. I'm in an OR room, as you can see. I'm in actually, it looks like OR 5 by that note. I can look around. The other thing, as you move through here, you'll notice that it says, that was look, you up and down. Hit up and down and you move, it'll actually bring you up, almost like an elevator. Okay, so you move up and down. The real neat one, if you want to impress your friends, is the one that says walk. When you start walk, all you do is you start to move your cursor outside of that little ball. Now it may be hard to see. I'll try to hit walk again. You'll see there's a little ball there. It's kind of yellow tone. Once you move your cursor outside of it, you'll start traveling, and usually at a pretty rapid speed. So I'm moving. Now, if you want to move left, you can just move left. and off we go. We're starting to fly on down here. Now we're a little bit underneath, looks like the floor plane. So if you hit your arrow keys, will actually, the arrow keys act like a Peter Pan button. Will actually like make you lift off. So if I do this a couple times, see I'm actually going above the element here. So that is a quick way to move around. As you can see here, you can move back and around. If I want to go back down, hit the arrow keys a couple of thumps, and I'm now back below. So an easy little way if you want to, press your friends and family to fly around, you can fly through the model and look at different things. At one point you decide that you want to, let's say, go back. You'll notice there is a rewind button. Hit rewind, and you can actually move back through the model, and it will remember the whole path you took. So if I'm talking to somebody and I pass it up, whoop, I can roll right back to where I was. So again, I'll hit this little icon, which is to select the item that you're interested in. Shift middle mouse button, that'll pivot it around. Let us look at it. See how things are interacting. If you need to measure the distance between a few of these, now I just rolled my mouse in real fast, that's why I went in. You could say, well, okay, looks like we've got a little bit of an issue here. I'm noticing that the diffuser is lower than the light fixture. And as we go through, we can verify that. Now, the easiest way to verify it is, you'll notice over here on the left hand side, we have a lot of layers that are really files, right? So I come over here, what I'm going to do is say, let's turn on the ceilings. Click the ceilings, say unhide. So you'll see that there's the ceiling, and now I'm going to spin around a little bit. Again, grab an object, so I grab that light fixture, shift middle mouse button, and I'm going to take a better look at how these things are looking. So it looks like, I'm not sure which one's on there or not, so we have to check both of them. But you can see how we can quickly look around the model. And the reason the model, this one, the ceiling's looking kind of grayed out, is because we did that on purpose. If I was to go back to that ceiling, and a way to find it is, here I am, I have overwritten it. Now, in this Freedom version, you don't have a lot of ability to adjust the look and feel. That's done in the managed one. But that's how we can see and verify things. I'm going to go ahead and hide him again. So you'll see how the model has been broken down into groupings. First of all, it's in different trades, which makes it easy to turn on and off the trades and compare trades. Secondly, it's been broken down into different subsets depending on what we need. For instance, like the room names and the ceilings. We're able to isolate those elements so it's easy for us to work with. So that's how we work in this in Freedom, and hopefully that gives you a good idea. If you're new to it and you just want to look around, I'd recommend come over here to the save viewpoints. Now if these are closed, don't panic. I'm going to close both of them. If you open up and there are nothing's here, go straight to, excuse me, it's on one of these tabs, View tab. You'll see it says Windows. Drop this down and you turn on what you want. Now selection tree is the actual files. And then we'll go drop this down, you'll say views. So we're going to come under here to the saved views. There are other windows you can utilize, as you can see here. But for the most part, I'm just going to leave it like that. There is one called properties, if you want to open him up. If you grab on an item, Revit will try to tell you about that item. Say its name and etc. So that's a nice one to have open also. So that is hopefully a good primer on how to use Navisworks Freedom. And again, the main objective of Navisworks is to see where we have clashes. We use Navisworks Manage to find the clashes, and then Navisworks Freedom gives us the ability to look around and explore those different options on how things bump into each other with the different design team members and BIM modelers. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us, TheBIMguys.com. My name's Ken Colgan. Hope you enjoyed the video.